The year was 1645. In a cave on Mount Iwato, a man of 60 years prepared for death. Miyamoto Musashi had killed more than 60 men in single combat. He had never lost, not once. His sword had carved his name into history, but as he sat in that cold stone chamber, he understood that steel alone had not made him invincible. It was something deeper, something most warriors never find. He took his brush and wrote 21 sentences. Not a manual, not a treatise. 21 rules that distilled 5 decades of blood, meditation, and the razor's edge between life and death. He called it Dokkodo, the Path of Aloneness. 2 weeks later, he was gone. But those 21 rules remained, and they have shaped warriors ever since. You need to understand something. Musashi was not born a legend. He was born Benosuke, son of a samurai in Harima province. His father died when he was 7. His mother had already abandoned him. He was an orphan with a wooden sword and nothing else. By 13, he had killed his first man, Arima Kihei, a renowned swordsman from the Shinto Ryu school. The boy used a wooden staff. Kihei used steel. Kihei died. That was 1603. For the next 30 years, Musashi wandered Japan as a ronin, a masterless samurai, challenging every school, every master, every man who claimed superiority with the blade. He fought in the mud. He fought on beaches. He fought in temples and courtyards and mountain passes. He developed his two-sword style, Niten Ichi Ryu, because he understood that limitation is a choice. Most samurai believed one sword was the honorable way. Musashi believed survival mattered more than honor's costume. His most famous duel came in 1612 on Ganryu Island. His opponent was Sasaki Kojiro, the demon of the western provinces, a man whose blade work was poetry, whose signature move, the turning swallow cut, had never been countered. The authorities set the duel for 8 in the morning. Musashi arrived at noon, deliberate, calculated. He had carved a wooden sword from an oar on the boat ride over. When Kojiro finally attacked, enraged by the delay, Musashi's timing was perfect. One strike. Kojiro fell. Musashi left the island without looking back. But here is what matters. Musashi did not write Dokkodo after that victory. He wrote it 43 years later, after he had stopped dueling altogether. After he had served in the siege of Osaka Castle in 1615, where he saw thousands die, where he understood that war was not about individual glory, but about strategic depth. After he had been offered prestigious positions by the Hosokawa and Ogasawa clans and refused them all. After he had spent years alone in caves, painting, writing, meditating, stripping away everything that was not essential. The 21 rules are not about swordsmanship. They are about the architecture of an unconquerable mind. They address the invisible enemies that defeat most men long before any physical opponent arrives. Attachment, comfort, distraction, ego, the endless hunger for validation and pleasure. Musashi understood that most warriors lose because they are already compromised from within. Their desires own them. Their fears guide them. Their attachments make them hesitant. A sword in such hands is just decorated metal. This is why modern men need Dokkodo now more than ever. You are not facing Sasaki Kojiro on an island. You are facing an algorithm designed to hijack your attention. You are facing a culture that tells you comfort is the goal, that ease is the reward, that you deserve to indulge every impulse. You are facing a world where most men have surrendered before they even realize they are in a battle. Musashi's 21 rules are a declaration of war against that surrender. They are not gentle. They are not comforting. They will ask you to cut away pieces of yourself that you have mistaken for identity. But on the other side of that blade is something most men never touch, the capacity to win consistently, to move through life with the same unshakable resolve that carried Musashi through 60 duels undefeated. Not through luck, through principle, through a mind that has been forged in the fire of renunciation and discipline. The path begins now. Do not think dishonestly. The first rule. Musashi places it first because dishonesty with yourself is the root of all defeat. Most men lie to themselves every single day. They call procrastination waiting for the right moment. They call fear being realistic. They call weakness balance. In 1604, Musashi fought Yoshioka Denshichiro in Kyoto. The Yoshioka school was prestigious, ancient, respected. Denshichiro attacked with perfect form, textbook technique, everything his tradition had taught him. Musashi killed him in seconds because Denshichiro had been dishonest about what a real fight demanded. Tradition had made him comfortable. Comfort had made him slow. Honesty is the first gate because without it, every other principle is just performance. The way is in training. Rule 2. Musashi trained every day of his life, even after he stopped dueling. He practiced sword forms in his 60s. He studied painting, calligraphy, sculpture. Training is not preparation for life. Training is life. The samurai of the Edo period understood this. Yamaoka Teshu, the 19th century sword saint, performed 10,000 cuts daily. Not because he expected to fight 10,000 enemies, but because the repetition carved away everything weak in his spirit. You train not for the event, but for the transformation. Most men stop training the moment they achieve minimal competence. They plateau. They maintain. Maintenance is decay in disguise. Become acquainted with every art. Rule 3. Musashi was not just a swordsman. He painted masterpieces. His ink painting of a striking bird, Koboku Meikakuzu, hangs in museums today. He sculpted wood. He wrote poetry. He understood strategy beyond combat. This is not dilettantism. This is cross-pollination. When you study multiple disciplines, you see patterns invisible to specialists. The footwork of swordsmanship teaches you about rhythm in negotiation. The patience of painting teaches you about timing in conflict. Narrow expertise makes you predictable. Broad mastery makes you adaptable. Know the ways of all professions. Rule 4. Musashi studied carpentry, architecture, military tactics, even commerce. Before his duel with Kojiro, he understood boat building well enough to carve a perfect oar sword. In 1614, he advised lords on castle fortification during the Osaka campaigns. He knew how builders thought, how merchants negotiated, how farmers organized labor. This knowledge was not academic, it was tactical. When you understand how other men operate, you can predict them, outmaneuver them, see 3 moves ahead while they are still considering one. Distinguish between gain and loss in worldly matters. Rule 5. This is not about accounting. This is about recognizing what actually accumulates and what merely appears valuable. In 1615, the Hosokawa clan offered Musashi a position, steady income, prestige, a comfortable estate. He refused. He understood that acceptance would cost him something more valuable than what they offered: freedom, time, the ability to walk his path without obligation. Most men cannot make this calculation. They see the salary, the title, the security. They miss the invisible price. Musashi's entire life was a study in strategic loss. He lost comfort. He lost companionship. He lost the easy path. He gained invincibility. Develop intuitive judgment and understanding for everything. Rule 6. Intuition is not mystical. It is compressed experience. By 1620, Musashi had fought dozens of duels. His intuition could read an opponent's intention before the sword moved because his body had catalogued thousands of microsignals. You develop this through exposure, through deliberate practice, through forcing yourself into situations where you must read patterns quickly or suffer consequences. Intuition is wisdom that has become reflex. Perceive those things which cannot be seen. Rule 7. At the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, Musashi was 17. He learned that the real battle happens in the unseen, in morale, in timing, in the psychological state of commanders. The side with superior numbers lost because they could not perceive the invisible factors. Every human interaction contains hidden dimensions, unspoken fears, secret motivations, masked intentions. Most men are blind to these. They see the surface. They accept the explanation. They miss the truth beneath. Musashi's genius was not superhuman perception. It was the discipline to look deeper when others stopped looking. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Rule 8. Pleasure is not evil. Pleasure as a master is catastrophic. In 1624, after the Shimabara rebellion preparations, Musashi was offered courtesans, fine sake, entertainment befitting a warrior of his reputation. He refused all of it, not because flesh and wine were beneath him, but because he understood the mechanism. Pleasure hijacks your decision-making. It creates patterns. You begin organizing your life around the next hit of comfort, the next moment of ease. Your choices become predictable. Your weakness becomes exploitable. The warrior who needs pleasure is already controlled by his enemy. You can experience pleasure as a byproduct of excellent work, but the moment you seek it directly, you have placed a chain around your own neck. Do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. Rule 9. Partial feeling is hesitation dressed as intuition. It is the voice that says, maybe tomorrow, or I am not quite ready, or let me think about it more. In 1605, Musashi fought Yoshioka Matashichiro, the third brother of the Yoshioka clan, seeking revenge for his siblings. Matashichiro brought dozens of armed men. An ambush. Musashi could have retreated, reconsidered, waited for better conditions. Instead, he attacked immediately, cutting through Matashichiro before the others could coordinate. Partial feeling would have killed him. Commitment saved him. When you operate on partial conviction, you move with half speed, half power, half presence. Your enemy does not fight your half measures with his half measures. He strikes with full force while you are still deciding. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Rule 10. This is the antidote to ego. Musashi never claimed to be the greatest swordsman. He claimed to have followed a path. The difference is everything. When you think deeply of yourself, you become fragile. Criticism wounds you. Failure devastates you. Comparison consumes you. When you think lightly of yourself, you become fluid. You can change because you are not defending an identity. You can learn because you are not protecting a reputation. The world is vast, complex, older than you, deeper than you. Your job is not to be important. Your job is to see clearly and act decisively within that vastness. Be detached from desire your whole life long. Rule 11. Desire is different from want. You want food when hungry, functional, necessary. Desire is the endless craving that remains after the need is met. It is wanting more when you have enough. In 1637, Musashi was invited to become a sword instructor for the Ogasawa clan in Kokura. Stable position, legacy building. He accepted briefly, then left. He could not remain because the position created desires for status maintenance, for student approval, for institutional continuity. Those desires would have slowly redirected his path from what was true to what was comfortable. Detachment is not numbness. It is freedom from the pull. You can engage fully with life while remaining unhooked by outcomes. Do not regret what you have done. Rule 12. Regret is rewriting history with fantasy alternatives. It is the poison that makes you hesitant in the present because you are still fighting battles in the past. Musashi killed men. Many men. Some were probably decent. Some might have had families, potential unfinished business. If he had carried regret, his sword would have slowed. His mind would have divided. In combat, hesitation is death. In life, Regret is paralysis. You make the best decision available with the information you have. Then you move forward. The only productive relationship with past action is extraction of lesson. Everything else is self-torture, masquerading as conscience. Never be jealous. Rule 13. Jealousy is admitting that someone else's possession has power over your peace. The samurai Takuan Soho wrote in 1632 that jealousy reveals misplaced attention. You are studying another man's harvest instead of tending your own field. When Musashi saw superior technique, he studied it, integrated it, or dismissed it. He never resented it. Resentment would mean his validation depended on being the only master. That dependence would have made him brittle. Jealousy is not about the other person. It is about your secret belief that resources are scarce, that someone else's gain is your loss, that comparison determines value. All lies. Never let yourself be saddened by a separation. Rule 14. Separation is the nature of existence. People leave. Situations end. Phases close. Musashi lived this absolutely. He never married. He never maintained a permanent dojo. He never settled into a domain. Every relationship in his life was temporary, and he walked away from all of them without clinging. This was not coldness. This was clarity. When you need people or circumstances to remain static, you become a hostage to entropy. Everything changes. Everyone leaves, dies, or transforms. Your strength cannot depend on things staying the same. Resentment and complaint are appropriate neither for oneself nor others. Rule 15. Complaint is the language of powerlessness. When you complain, you are announcing that circumstances control you, that you are subject to forces beyond your influence, that your role is reactor rather than actor. In 1633, during a period of peace, many samurai complained about the lack of opportunity for glory, about the shift from martial culture to bureaucratic administration under the Tokugawa shogunate. Musashi said nothing. He adapted. He turned to art, to writing, to refining strategy in different domains. Complaint would have been an admission that his value depended on external conditions. Resentment is complaint's older brother. It is the sustained belief that you have been cheated by reality. Both are fantasies. Reality does not negotiate. It simply is. Your only choice is response. Do not let yourself be guided by the feeling of lust or love. Rule 16. This cuts deep because modern culture has made feeling the ultimate authority. If you feel it, honor it. If it moves you, follow it. Musashi understood that feelings are weather, not direction. In his 20s, after his victory over Kojiro, Musashi could have leveraged his fame into marriage, alliances, social position. Lust and love would have provided all of it. He chose the path instead. Not because connection is worthless, but because his life's work required an undivided attention that romantic entanglement would fracture. The samurai code recognized this. Yamamoto Tsunetomo wrote in Hagakure, compiled in 1716, that a warrior's love must be for the way itself, not for the comfort another body provides. You can care for people without being guided by that care. Guidance requires a fixed star. Feelings are clouds. In all things have no preferences. Rule 17. Preference is prejudgment. It is deciding before the situation reveals itself. Musashi fought with long swords, short swords, wooden swords, oars, sticks. He had no preference because preference creates predictability, and predictability creates vulnerability. In 1640, when he began writing Go Rin No Sho in Reigando Cave, he described water, formless, adapting to container, flowing around obstacle. That is no preference. The man with preferences needs certain conditions to perform. The man without preferences performs in any condition. This extends beyond combat. No preference for comfort over discomfort. No preference for praise over criticism. No preference for gain over loss. You meet what comes with equal readiness. This is not indifference. This is ultimate adaptability. Be indifferent to where you live. Rule 18. Place is another attachment. Men tie their identity to cities, to countries, to the home they grew up in, or the climate they prefer. Musashi lived in caves, in temples, in forests, briefly in castles. Location was tactical, not emotional. When place owns you, you cannot move when movement is required. The merchant who cannot leave his failing town goes down with it. The warrior who loves his homeland too much defends indefensible positions. Indifference to place is freedom of maneuver. You can appreciate beauty without needing to possess it. You can enjoy comfort without depending on it. The cave and the palace are the same to the man who carries his center within himself. Do not pursue the taste of good food. Rule 19. Food is fuel or food is distraction. Musashi ate simply. Rice, vegetables, fish when available. Not because pleasure in eating is wrong, but because developing refined tastes creates dependencies. The gourmet cannot function when refined ingredients are unavailable. His performance drops. His mind occupies itself with what is missing. During the siege of Osaka Castle, samurai who had developed expensive palates suffered more than those who had trained themselves to eat anything. Hunger is a weapon your enemy can use against you if you have not mastered it first. This applies to all consumables. The man who needs specific coffee, specific brands, specific preparations has built his own cage. Simplicity is invincibility. Do not hold on to possessions you no longer need. Rule 20. Accumulation is weight. Every object you own owns a piece of your attention. It requires storage, maintenance, security, mental space. In 1643, 2 years before his death, Musashi gave away his swords. He kept one, a master swordsman, keeping one sword. The rest was excess. Most men spend their lives accumulating proof of success: cars, watches, property, credentials. Each piece of proof requires defense. You must maintain the image. You must protect the investment. You must justify the acquisition. Meanwhile, the accumulation itself prevents the mobility and clarity that created the success. Possessions beyond utility are anchors. Cut them loose. Accept everything just the way it is. Rule 21. The final teaching. Not resignation, acceptance. Musashi wrote this in Reigando Cave, 60 years old, weeks from death. He had killed. He had created. He had won and lost and wandered and mastered. And his final instruction was this: accept everything just the way it is. Because resistance to reality is the source of all suffering and all strategic error. When you fight what is, you divide your power. Half your energy goes to wishing things were different. Only half remains for effective action. The master accepts the terrain, the weather, the opponent's skill, his own limitations, the inevitability of death. Then, from that acceptance, he moves with total commitment. This is not passivity. This is the conservation of power for what can actually be changed. Musashi died peacefully in that cave, his work complete, his mind undivided. He had accepted everything. He had mastered everything. He had won. You are not facing Sasaki Kojiro. You are facing your phone at 3 in the morning, the algorithm that knows your weakness better than you do, the dopamine cycle that turns your attention into profit for strangers. Do not think dishonestly becomes stop lying about why you failed. You know why. The story you tell yourself about bad timing, about unfair advantages others had, about circumstances beyond your control, that story is the enemy. Write down what actually happened. Every evasion you permit is a territory you surrender. The way is in training becomes your non-negotiable daily practice. Not when you feel motivated, not when conditions are perfect. Every single day, the modern warrior trains his body because a soft body creates a soft mind. He trains his skill because competence is confidence. He trains his attention because focus is the currency of the 21st century. 30 minutes of deliberate practice. Every day. No exceptions. This is your Musashi's 10,000 cuts. Become acquainted with every art means you do not hide in expertise. You are a specialist in your field. Yes, but you study persuasion, you study body language, you study basic accounting, you study negotiation, you study how systems work outside your domain. The man who only knows code cannot navigate office politics. The man who only knows sales cannot build what he sells. The man who only lifts weights cannot articulate why discipline matters. Breadth makes you dangerous. Know the ways of all professions means you study your competition, your clients, your employees, your industry's adjacent industries. You know what keeps your boss awake at night. You know what your customer truly values beneath what they say they value. You know how your competitor thinks because you have studied their patterns. This is intelligence work. You gather information not from paranoia, but from strategic necessity. Ignorance is a choice you cannot afford. Distinguish between gain and loss means you recognize that the high salary at the soul-crushing job is a net loss. The difficult conversation you are avoiding costs more than the temporary discomfort of having it. The relationship that feels safe but demands you shrink costs more than loneliness. You calculate in decades, not quarters. You measure in capability gained, not just capital accumulated. Most men optimize for the wrong variables because they never defined what winning actually means for them. Develop intuitive judgment means you put yourself in situations that require rapid decision-making under uncertainty. You cannot develop intuition from books. You need exposure. You need repetition in varied contexts. You take the meeting that scares you. You have the difficult conversation. You launch the project before you feel ready. Each iteration feeds your pattern recognition. After 200 conversations, you can read a room in 30 seconds. After 100 negotiations, you know when to push and when to wait. Intuition is earned. Perceive those things which cannot be seen means you watch what people do when they think nobody important is watching. You notice who takes responsibility and who deflects. You observe energy in the room, micro-expressions, what is not being said. You read financial statements for what they reveal about priority, not just profit. You study body language, tone, timing. The invisible determines the visible. Most men are blind because they never trained themselves to see. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake becomes you do not organize your weekend around escape. You do not need the drink to relax, the porn to feel desired, the video game to feel accomplished, the social media to feel connected. Pleasure is a side effect of living well, not the target. When you need pleasure, you are controllable. Delete the apps. Remove the easy dopamine. Let boredom teach you what you actually want. Do not depend on partial feeling means when you know what must be done, you do it immediately. The hesitation, the second guessing, the need for more information, these are not wisdom. They are fear wearing a mask. You launch the business. You end the relationship. You have the confrontation. You make the investment. Partial commitment guarantees mediocre results. Musashi attacked the ambush. You attack your own hesitation. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world means your ego is not the mission. You can be wrong. You can look foolish. You can fail publicly. None of that threatens who you actually are because you are not defending an image. You are pursuing truth and effectiveness. The world is endlessly complex. Your job is to understand it clearly, not to be impressive within it. Be detached from desire. Your whole life long means you pursue goals without being destroyed if you do not reach them. You build the company without needing it to succeed to feel worthy. You train your body without needing to be the biggest to feel valuable. You create without needing applause. Detachment is power because you are not hostage to outcome. Do not regret what you have done means you extract the lesson and discard the self-torture. You failed. You hurt someone. You made the wrong call. Now what? Regret changes nothing. Action changes everything. The only honor you can give to past mistakes is becoming someone who does not repeat them. Never be jealous means you see another man's success as proof that success is possible, not as theft from your potential share. You study what worked for him. You adapt what is useful. You discard what is not. His win does not cause your loss unless you waste energy resenting instead of building. Never let yourself be saddened by a separation means you love people fully while they are here and release them completely when they leave. No clinging, no bitterness, no fantasy that things could have been different. Everything ends. Your strength cannot require permanence. Resentment and complaint appropriate neither for oneself nor others means you eliminate both from your language entirely. When something is wrong, you state it factually and propose solution. You do not narrate your victimhood. You do not bond with others over shared grievance. Complaint is poison. Resentment is chains. Both are beneath you. Do not let yourself be guided by feeling means your decision-making system is principle-based, not emotion-based. You do not quit because you feel discouraged. You do not stay because you feel comfortable. You do not speak because you feel angry. You consult feeling as data, not as direction. The path is already set. Feeling is just whether you move through. In all things have no preferences means you can work in any environment, with any tools, under any conditions. You do not need the perfect setup to begin. You do not need ideal circumstances to perform. You are water. You adapt. You flow. You find the way through. Be indifferent to where you live means geography does not determine your effectiveness. You can build in the city or the mountains or the desert. You are not running from something. You are not dependent on a specific location's energy or culture or network. Your center is portable. Do not pursue the taste of good food means you eat for fuel and health, not for entertainment. You can enjoy a good meal, but you do not structure your day around culinary experience. You do not need variety to stay disciplined. Rice and vegetables will suffice. Simplicity removes friction. Do not hold on to possessions you no longer need means you audit your life quarterly. The books you will not reread, the clothes you do not wear, the subscriptions you do not use, the equipment gathering dust, gone. Every possession beyond utility is weight. Travel light, move fast. Accept everything just the way it is means you stop fighting reality and start working with it. The market crashed, your partner left, you got injured, the opportunity fell through. Okay, that is what is. Now what is the most effective move from this position? Acceptance is not defeat. Acceptance is clarity. From clarity comes action. From action comes victory. Musashi wrote these rules knowing he would die. He was not theorizing. He was passing on the distilled truth of a life lived at the edge. You inherit that now. These are not suggestions. These are the operating system of the unconquered mind. Install them. Live them. Win.